I was born in San Francisco and grew up there until the age of 9. I've spent most of my teenage years in Phoenix, went to college in Boston, and finally settled in Nashville after landing a job there. So, as you can tell, I've lived most of my life in big cities. However, I do get to spend about a month out of the year at my grandpa's cabin in the woods. I've worked at my uncle's company ever since coming out of college. We are very close, and I work extremely hard for him. For that, he allows me to take 1 month paid vacation leave every year. He knows this is important to me due to my past and ongoing medical condition. I used to suffer from depression starting from the age of 12. I consulted with doctors, psychologists, and was drugged up to my eyeballs. But nothing really worked, nothing permanent anyway, since the drugs for the most part artificially tweaked my mood. My parents didn't want that for me, so they sent me to live with Grandpa out in the woods. Grandpa lived in his cabin ever since Grandma passed away. She died from cancer at the young age of 47. Grandpa fell in depression after Grandma's passing, and living in the woods did wonders to control his emotions. So then he suggested for me to live with him in his cabin, and it worked out wonderfully for me. The only thing is, I have to go back there every once in a while. Think of it as me getting a recharge. It's probably hard for someone who's never felt in depression to imagine why the repetitive healing is required, but it just is. Grandpa obviously knows the woods around his cabin like the back of his hand, but I'm not too shabby either. Imagine, I've been going there for at least 1 month out of the year for nearly 2 decades now. The wild animals we get to see most often are deer, rabbits, squirrels, and weasels. The less often seen wild animals include beavers, bison, foxes, and raccoon. Bears, coyotes, skunks, and wolves are much less often seen. So you might be asking, why the lesson in local fauna? Well, to put it simply, the wild animals are disappearing from this area. This area meaning a particular county in the state of Ohio. I'm currently staying in the cabin as I write this down for you. At the moment, the woods are strangely quiet. I've only seen a handful of deer and rabbits. Even the squirrels seem to have left the area. Initially, when you come here from the city, everything is so serene and quiet out here. But that's only because you've been accustomed to the loud noises of people and traffic in large cities. In reality, the woods are much busier than the cities. There are millions of insects and thousands of different animals going about their day. If you stay quiet and listen to your surroundings carefully, the woods are full of noises and sounds. They're pleasant, unlike the sounds of the cities, but it's busy out here. There's so much that happens every day if you just listen. So then that's what's been missing here, and it's been missing for quite some time. Grandpa tells me it all started last year around July. He began seeing less and less wild animals in the area. Today, even the birds have become a rare sight. By the way, I'm saying this even after considering the seasonal migration of wild animals. I've contacted Ohio Wildlife Center, but didn't get to speak to anyone of authority there. I don't think they want to bother with some random guy calling in. An animal science professor at the University of so-and-so was more helpful in that he bothered to speak to me, but I could tell from his tone that he didn't put my opinion in high regard. By the way, I've decided to not disclose the university in question because I'd rather not put a bad light on someone based on a single phone conversation. In any event, I respect my grandpa's opinion a whole lot more than any professional claiming to know the area. If he says the wild animals are disappearing, then you have to take his word seriously. And it isn't just my grandpa who's saying it. Grandpa's friend, who's a park ranger, shares the same opinion. So do the local hunters and guides. Lastly, I didn't want to mention this and sound like a crazy person, but I don't think I can explain the whole situation without telling you of the strange things I've been witnessing around here. I've been staying in the cabin for the last 10 days. Out of those 10 days, 7 nights I've seen some mysterious lights in the sky. They are bright, but they don't cover a large area. The lights stay up anywhere from a minute to about 5 minutes. Also, they're not flares. I've shot flare guns plenty of times in the past. I know how they look and how fast they fall from the sky. Right about now, you might be thinking that it's another UFO story. But here's the twist. I don't think the lights have anything to do with UFOs or aliens. I think they are man-made. The reason for my assumption is the presence of the military in the area. We are seeing military trucks driving in and out of town all the time. I've also seen temporary military posts popping up in the middle of the woods. You know, tents and canopies which clearly belong to the military, and with military personnel occupying them. At first, they weren't too strict. You could actually go up to the soldiers and ask them simple questions like what they were doing in the middle of nowhere. It's not like they had answers, but they didn't refuse to engage you. But security has been enhanced in the last couple of days. They have physical barriers surrounding their camp, and soldiers are posted in all areas at all times of the day. Basically, you can no longer see what they are doing in there. And that, of course, is the reason behind the barriers and the guard posts. They're hiding something in there. Now, what I'm going to say from this point on is all conjecture. I want to make that clear to you. Imagine for a second thousands of wild animals disappearing from an area of over 10,000 acres. Keep in mind, there hasn't been any reports of those animals migrating to other regions. This is because a significant jump in, for example, deer or rabbit population would have easily been spotted by wildlife professionals in the regions affected by the migration. Based on the information I've gathered so far, I can only assume the wild animals in our region have essentially disappeared. So it begs the question, which happened first? Did the animals disappear and then the military show up? Or is it the other way around? Because that matters. If the military presence came first, then you'd have to assume what they have done has led to the disappearances. If not, we may be able to find the answers in nature. For the time being, it feels like everyone who could shed some light on this issue are willfully staying quiet. The more I think about the conversations I've had with the professionals in this region, the more it feels like they were told to keep their mouths shut. Abnormal migration of wild animals should be a huge deal in the scientific community. But have you seen a single article on this issue? Please send me a link if you've seen one, because I sure haven't come across a single piece so far. It feels like no one's talking about it because they've been told not to, but this is too big to keep it hidden for this long. It's almost as if the people in the know are intentionally censoring themselves. Why though? Is it because whatever that's happening is inevitable? And if that were the case, and for the sake of argument, let's just say that I possessed such inside information, would I then keep my mouth shut too if I knew something terrible was coming but had no means to stop it? You know what's scary? I think I might. What's happening in the woods right here, it seems like it's been contained, at least for the time being. But these disappearances are hugely concerning. The implications to the same thing happening in a larger scale should terrify everyone. I used to come here to treat my depression. Today, I'm not so sure this place can continue to be my paradise.